So the topic I chose for my Make It Memorable was biodiesel, which can be created from algae. Biodiesel is a type of biofuel. Biofuel is defined as any fuel whose energy is obtained through a process called carbon fixation. Carbon fixation is basically just the process of converting carbon dioxide into a molecule which can be found inside of a living organism. A good example of this would be plants going through the process of photosynthesis, because plants take in CO2, water, and sunlight, and they use it to create glucose, which is sugar and food for them. History of biofuels. So biofuels have actually been around ever since man found and created fire. Wood was actually the first biofuel ever used. It was very popular until the discovery of fossil fuels, which include natural gas, oil, and coal. It actually became very popular in World War II because of they needed an alternative to oil, because so much of it was being used to run planes, tanks, and machinery that they needed to find an alternative to get more. Rudolf Diesel was actually the inventor of the first diesel engine, which is why it's named after him. And alternatives to biofuel are ethanol fuel, methanol fuel, natural gas, propane, compressed air, and renewable resources. While many of these are cheaper than biofuel, they actually aren't cleaner. But renewable energy, while that probably is cleaner, it's a lot more expensive than biofuel, which is one of the downsides. So my solution was to use the oil inside of algae, and I crushed it up using a blender, and then I got lye water. Well, I was supposed to get sodium hydroxide, but since I couldn't get that, I made lye water, which is a good substitute for it, which is just wood ashes and gravel, and I have to filter water through that. So I mixed the two together, and I added a bit of rubbing alcohol in there to create my biodiesel through a process called transesterification. And so, can we watch the video at the end? Can we watch it at the end, maybe? Or
okay, that's fine.
Okay. How this relates to chemistry is algae contains energy stored from the sun, and when the algae is burned, the oil inside of when the algae is actually burned, it releases that chemical energy as heat energy. And then another way I can relate it to chemistry is the lye water in the reaction actually acts as a catalyst to speed up the reaction. How I related it to English is we wrote a MLA-styled research paper, which we found many sources, and we had to look through the internet for viable information that we could use throughout our entire project. In algebra, I compared the cost of regular diesel and biodiesel using system of equations, and I actually found out that biodiesel was more expensive, but this could change due to the fact that one day we're using fossil fuels at an alarming rate, and one day we're going to run out. So that price is going to rise and rise and rise until we do run out. And it's also a lot cleaner to burn. And human geo, we could relate it to both environmental and industry, because environmentally it's a lot cleaner, and it contains 78% less CO2 than diesel fuel, which is like the greenhouse gases in the air. And I already explained that. Fun facts. Biodiesel accounts for 0.15% of the US population and around 3% in Germany. We produced around 1 billion pounds of, we produce 1 billion gallons of biofuel annually, and the energy in biofuel is 90% of that than regular diesel, which means that the same amount of fuel is going to get you less of a distance. And you can go to the video now. There's no sound. So what the biodiesel is supposed to do is it's going to contain the flame, and I probably could have kept it going a lot longer, but I actually blew out the flame. But if I did this incorrectly, the flame would have just gone out when I placed it in there.